Alright, so here's the first of our 2 knots, and this one's called the 3-leaf Chinese temple knot. And so this is what it looks like when it's finished. And this is a diagram, and this is the knot in a loose formation. This is a diagram that I've made regarding the path of your cord and how the knot goes together if you're having to do subsequent knots from the first iteration of your knot. If you're wanting to link them together, this is going to be important, and this is actually how it looks before you take out the slack if you're going to use this method. The standard way to do this particular knot, and what I've got here is I've got a 2 foot long piece of cord for demonstration, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some pins to help guide me, well, to help you see better what it is that I'm doing. So I found the center of my cord and I made a loop. And what I'm going to need to do is I need 2 more loops with my cord before I start tying the knot itself. So I'm just using the pins to hold the cord onto my board so you could see what I'm doing a little more clearly than if I was just to bend the cord around and start going too fast. So this is your starting formation, that you have your center loop and then 2 side loops with it. Let's actually get this out of the way, and there'll be a picture of this on the YouTube page. That way you can use it as a guide for doing subsequent knots for connecting with at the loop, which I think would look really good, really nice, kind of like how you do tatting, but instead of just normal tatting, you're doing it with the Chinese 3-leaf Chinese temple knot, which is what looks so cool. All right, so let's name our cord sections. So we've got A, B, C, and D, and you're going to need to remember those for the sequence that we're going to be intertwining them with. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down our A cord here because we need to create a loop. And we're taking our A cord, our A over B, and I'm just going to drive a pin in here just to make sure everything stays where it needs to stay for the moment until we can get going further. All right, so we've got A is over B. Then we're going to take B and fold it over A and over C and put a pin in that there to hold it down. So we've got A is over B, B has gone over A and over C. Now we're going to take C and fold it over B and over D. And again, I'm driving the pins in to hold the cord in place so you can see what I've done so far, to make it easier for you to track. I don't expect you to be using all these pins as you're tying your knot. All right, and then we're going to take D and we're going to take it over the top of C and down through this loop created by A. And pull that through. All right, and let me put a pin in it so you see what we've done so far. So we've taken A, took it over the top of B, took B over the top of A and top of C, took C over the top of B and the top of D, and then took D over the top of C and through the loop created by A. So now we're going to actually take all these pins out, because this is where we take the slack out of our knot. So what our loops have done, and we're going to want to hold these down so we could pull A, give A a bit of a tug to help tighten things up. What we've done is our B, C, and D loops are creating our 3 leaves. And that's all there is to it. You just pull the slack out just by tugging on your loops. And if you want to adjust the size of the loops, you can do that. It's just a matter of pulling on your cord to make your loop smaller. So say you want your loop that size, and just tracking that cord back through everything. This one is actually, the other end is from A, so we just give it a bit of a tug and pull it down. And so we probably want to make all of our loops the same size. So then we're going to, on this one, we're going to pull our loop down to where it gets about the same size as our first one that we adjusted. We're just going to look behind and see where that cord is coming from. And we're just tracing the cord back, and this is how we get our last loop to adjust down to the size that we want. And that's all there is to it. This is actually a really easy knot to do, and there could be a lot of applications for this knot. You could just have it as a decorative knot hanging off of anything. I would use a satin cord in a color that matched a necklace that I was making, and use this as a finish at the back for the closure, to where this is hanging down your back, and it would look really nice for somebody wearing a top that has a low scoop in the back. It just adds a little interest to the back of the necklace, so that would look really pretty.